It's a lot more interesting when two variables are being compared to see if there's an association between the variables. So we're going to look at an example, a real-life example, using the Titanic. So here's the situation. In 1912, the luxury liner, the Titanic, struck an iceberg and sank. Some people escaped on lifeboats and survived, but many others died. The two-way table below gives information about passengers who lived and died, separated by class of travel. So here's the research question, the question that we're interested in exploring. Is there an association between a person's travel class and whether or not the person survived? In other words, does a person's chance of survival depend on their travel class? Is survival rate explained by travel class? We're going to analyze the data using Staplet.com. And we're going to go to the choose two categorical variables and enter the data that's shown below. So let's go ahead and do that. When you go to Staplet.com, you will see these different options. So I'm going to choose two categorical variables. And then you're going to see explanatory variable and response variable. And the way we explain that is explanatory variable is the variable that most likely explains how the other variable behaves. Okay, so for example, in this example, is whether a person lived or died explained by which travel class they were in, or is which travel class they were in explained by whether they lived or died? That second one doesn't really make sense. We're saying if we know something about the travel class, that tells us something about whether they lived or died. So we're going to make the explanatory variable the travel class. So type travel class here. Okay, the response variable is survival. Okay, status. Okay, so survival status means they either lived or they died. So these are two variables, travel class, survival status. So the values of the survival status variable are lived or died. The values of the travel class status are first class, second class, and then we need third class and staff. So we're going to have to add a column over here using this plus symbol. So third class and staff. Now we do not have to add in any columns for totals. This software, let's see, staff, there we go. Can't spell it right. This software will automatically do that for us. Now we need to put in the values. So we have 203, we can tab to go across, 118, 178, and 212, and tab, and then 325, 285, 706, and 885. Now, after we've done that, then we just hit Begin Analysis, and it gives us a graph, and it gives us a table. We're going to look at the table first. So I've got this on your notes. So I'm going to go back to the smartboard so I can write on this, and we can talk about this table. So these are known as the summary statistics. There is only one type of statistic that we can calculate for categorical variable, and that is a percentage. Now we could put the percentage in decimal form or in written as a percent with a percent sign, but it's still the same number. So this is the so percent is the only statistic available for categorical data. I also wanted to mention that, I think we already talked about explanatory and response variable. Okay, now what I want you to look at is that we have a bunch of percentages that have been calculated now. So we have, it's added a total, so now we know the total who lived, the total who died, and the grand total of everybody on the Titanic. It also tells us the percent who lived and died in each column. So 38% of the first class passengers lived, 61% died. 29% of the second class passengers lived, 70% died, and so forth. Total, 24% lived and 75% died approximately on the whole ship. We're going to divide these percentages up into two types of distributions. We have what's called the marginal distribution and the conditional distribution. So I'm going to start with the marginal distribution, and the reason it's on the right is because I wanted it to be underneath the marginal distribution here. So this marginal distribution is right here. The marginal distribution just tells the survival rate overall of all the people, okay, regardless of class. So this is the percentage of all passengers who lived or died. So when we talk about the marginal distribution, that is the marginal distribution right there. It just tells us 24% lived, 75.6% died. So lived, 24.4%, died, 75.6%. Now, the conditional distribution by class, there's actually 4 different conditional distributions. There's a conditional distribution for first class, one for second class, one for third class, and one for staff. So 4 different conditional distributions. So this is the percent of passengers who lived and died within each class. Okay, so it's separated by category. Now this gives us different information than just the marginal total. It breaks it down and it lets us know different things. So is survival status affected by what class the passengers were in? It appears to be so. We notice here almost twice as many lived survived in first class as in the staff, or even in third class. The second class was a little lower than the first class. So if you were in the first class, if you were a first class passenger, you were much more likely to survive the sinking of the Titanic than if you were in second or third, or especially third class or staff. So we're going to go in our next video and look at then how we can display this data graphically.